It is 4 o'clock. First of all, is there anyone that has not given the gentleman at the desk there their proxy? If you would, bring it up, please.
Yes, you do. There's some on the desk. Okay, I gave them to Dean. That's fine. Okay.
Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody to Montclair's annual meeting. I'm glad to see quite a crowd here. That's great. I guess we'll start with you, Dean. Call to order, please.
Yep. Adequate notice of this meeting was given to the members by U.S. mail and by email, and I have an affidavit showing that statement. And we had 4 of the board members in attendance. We achieved a quorum of 47 members participating.
Okay. Mr. Al-Salati is on the website. He is up in Ohio freezing. So, but he can hear us and he'll enter any conversation. Okay, good. Do we want to take a motion to waive last year's meetings, please?
I so move.
Second is okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great, thank you. I guess right off the bat here, we have 3 issues that you all voted on. Graham, do we have a tally? Okay, we'll bypass that until we're ready. Okay. Let's do that. Make life easy. Want to go to the next?
Yep.
You want to do that first? Okay. All right, we had an exciting year, I guess, for 2020 in many ways, besides the pandemic, which everybody, I'm sure, has really enjoyed. But be what it may, we still had to move forward with the remnants of the problems that we had from Hurricane Irma. But give you an idea about what happened during the course of the year. If you take a look up on the screen here, and I'll read it off mainly for some of those that have called in and don't have that available possibly. We coordinated the final Irma insurance claim inspections and tests that were conducted on February, April, June, and early July by the insurance company, and our representative in preparation for the submission of all findings to appraisal panel to review damage evidence for award on July 13th and 14th. And we want to thank all the owners that participated and cooperated with that. That was quite a job, headed by Dave Wallace here, who did most, if not all, of the legwork. Thank God for that. We worked on the design and review committee with Carmela, McDonald, and Missy to help us decide what we're going to have for a new roof style and color and the new exterior building colors. I think some of you were all participants in that. Came down to the pool, took a look at the colors, and we had an approval rating of 89%, etc. So great work for Carmela and Missy. Thank you very much. We worked with Attorney Brian for. Thank you. Didn't want to cut you off there. We worked with the attorney to negotiate with the general contractor, Venture Construction, to begin the re-roofing prior to the receipt. Okay, prior to the receipt of the insurance claim award at no cost outlay to Montclair. What that means is we did not have any award. In fact, we still don't have any award. But what was conducted through Brian Cross's office and with conjunction with what we did, the roofing company and Venture, the general contractor, entered into an agreement with us to start on the roofing work and accepted the situation that whatever the award was, they would accept the funds accordingly for the roof repair work. So consequently, we were able to start the work. So that was a really good step in our start of getting the repairs done and getting the blue tarps removed. During that process of time also, we were fortunate enough at that time to get a 2-month extension, only 2 months extension to the 16th of August with our existing insurance company. They would not renew our insurance policy except for those 2 months, obviously because we were suing them, number one, and number two, they didn't want to continue an insurance on a project that was still in jeopardy for possible damage with additional hurricane coming up. Get the next slide. We work directly with the roofing subcontractor on a daily basis on the re-roofing project. We started basically September 8th with completion by the first week in January, which we were very fortunate. I think we lost a total of maybe 10 or 12 days, but they were very cooperative. They worked from those young men. We all watched them. They were there at 7 o'clock in the morning until 6 o'clock at night.
So was Jerry.
So, yeah, but anyway, we try to keep everybody up to date with the updates, and hopefully we did a good enough job there to let everybody know what was going on. Our toughest part of the job was the logistics of getting the material in a place where the contractor didn't have to move it twice or 3 times. And I think I want to thank everybody that worked with us. Some of you worked with us and you weren't here because we used your driveway even while you weren't here. So that helped out. So it was a little bit of an event, and I think it went off reasonably well. Contractor was extremely happy, let's put it that way. On the 27th of October, we received an award. And as you notice up here, we cannot give you the actual dollar amount because we're still in negotiation and we're still part of the suit, which is now being heard up in Fort Myers with the district court, because the amount that was awarded, even though we went to arbitration, an agreeable arbitration between both parties, the insurance company basically decided to object to the award. So that's one of the reasons we're still waiting. It was supposed to be an outlying basis of 60 days, which would have been February 8th. We did not get an award notice on February 8th. We've worked with more property management while we're doing other things to solicit some bids for us for the repainting of the exterior of the buildings using the new color palette that was provided earlier in the year. The bids were provided and cost comparisons were sent to the general contractor, and we're now in the midst of trying to negotiate a final contract between the general contractor and the painting contractor. We did that situation there because we recall we have not given any money to anybody yet. So part of the agreement for them to go forward on doing the painting and the gutters and downspouts afterwards is that we would release the deductible dollars, which is $413, and we put those dollars out subject to getting this quote, which is really what they're going to notice as a amendment number 2. That hasn't been finalized. Okay, we're still working on it as of this morning. That takes us up to date with actual physical construction. We arranged a new lease agreement with FPL to give us some new light fixtures on the poles that we have. We have 6 of them. Carmela again and Missy spent some time on out, took a look at what was being offered, and we made a selection. We then decided to paint the poles the base color that the building is going to be, which is the base trim color. And David and his assistant, Linda, Mulrooney went out there and painted all those poles in one day. They're not union workers, I can tell you that. They worked under some adverse conditions there, and I don't know where's David? Is he here? No, I gotta watch out for David. Okay. We've also, at this point in time, selected new coach lights for the front of the buildings. Next couple of days, we're going to order those lights and have them put in storage at the electrical supply house, because we got a good price, we got something picked, and what we'll do with those new fixtures is they'll be installed after the painting is done. Okay, I guess the last item on the bottom here is we recently completed some much needed gutter repairs where water was ponding in front of driveways in certain areas of the street work because of settlement and or cracked gutters, and that work to date has been completed. We're going to be doing more of that, but that won't be for a while. What we did is we hit the most severe spots where there was water ponding in front of driveways, and wanted to get that situation taken care of. So that's all done. Okay, time frame for waterproofing and remaining work to be completed. Now I'm going to start lying to you. Federal court, okay, it's supposed to, like I just mentioned, it's supposed to have been down to us what we thought the 60 days, which would have been February 8th. The federal court in Fort Myers is one of the busiest federal courts in the country. Between hurricanes and criminals and the pandemic. By the way, everything is blamed on the pandemic. They don't have enough toilet paper or whatever it is, the pandemic is at fault. So what we're assuming now is that we're hoping that by no later than April 8th, which is an extra 2 months, not 1 month, but 2 months, that we will have the final award and we could proceed with the windows and doors. The complete arrangements, okay, with the general contractor, begin the painting, okay, we hope to start that by the 15th of March, maybe sooner, if we have a couple of things in line to do that a little bit earlier. The painting should take about 60 days, and hopefully we'll get all of it done before the rainy season. Okay, as it stands now, only those windows, sliders, and doors noted in our consultant's glazing report will be replaced per the award. That report is what was submitted to the umpire. The award was based on that submission, and consequently 30%, 34% of all the windows that were noted, and actually they were the 34% that were noted damaged. And 75% of all the sliders, those were the ones damaged. The 4 pairs of French doors and 2 entry doors were what the total amount that was included in the award. The detail of the award by unit, we're going to get to you all in the next 2 weeks. So once you receive that, you'll have an idea of what is going to be repaired, if anything, in your particular unit. As soon as the general contractor determines the unit price for the windows, sliders, we'll solicit from the owners several things. Do they want to just replace what is in the award? For instance, if you have 2 damaged windows and the award provides the replacement of those 2 windows, if you have 5 other windows, do you want to replace those windows as well with the same standard window? If you do, it'll be at your cost. Okay. The other side is also they are going to hopefully provide a reasonable upgraded window. And then you'll have a choice of upgrading the windows that are damaged and the rest of the units. I would assume that if you're going to go to the upgrade, you're going to do the whole unit. That would be commonplace. And again, that upgrade situation will all be at the owner's cost. Here's where we find a little hitch, because we'd like to do things in an expeditious manner. However, because of the rules, the attorney recommends that this solicitation process not begin until the final award is announced, as pricing before then may be disclosable to the insurance company to the association's detriment. What that means simply is that if the award shows that the window cost is $100 and we go out and secure a price, or the general contractor secures a price for $50, the insurance company can come back and say, hey, you know, we're only going to give you $50. So that's the reason there's no numerical numbers being announced. The delivery time, I think we provided this to some degree once before, okay? The window situation, if we were to order them today, there's a 12 to 14 week time frame to get the delivery of the windows. We have 12 to 16 weeks because if you read the papers and hear everything that's going on, the building boom here in Naples is still going on. It's fantastic, even with, quote, the epidemic. It's the only thing the epidemic didn't, you know, hamper, and that's building construction. So we're saying up here 12 to 16 weeks, which means by the end of July, installation will begin. And depending on the workforce that the subcontractor, that the general contractor hires to install the windows, we're looking at completion date sometime around the end of November. Next slide.
Yep. It's funny that. Okay, we'll first cover the operating results for 2020. We ended with a surplus, as was discussed at the December meeting, and as planned, we first paid down the prior year's deficit on the balance sheet. There's been a deficit on the balance sheet even prior to 2015, and we reduce it every year as best we can. This year we had enough to totally eliminate it, and then the balance of more than 44,000 was rolled into reserves. So we ended the year break even for that reason. The surplus of the 48.8 resulted from a number of items. Building maintenance expense, which is very volatile, was much lower. We deferred landscaping work into 2021 due to the re-roofing, which would have complicated it, and that is putting the mulching in and doing some of the tree trimming. And we had lower expenses in these other areas, water and sewer, legal, irrigation, and community enhancement. And we also, after mid-year, we suspended adding to the roof reserve for obvious reasons. So that saved us some money. All of the favorable items offset $23,000 more in our property insurance expense. And on the ballot where it said, do you mind not having fully funded reserves, the fact that we were allowed to not have fully funded reserves allowed us to stop the roofing reserve after mid-year, and that gave us the flexibility we needed in order to manage some of those unplanned expenses. We're now in the midst of rewriting our insurance policy to cover wind and hail, and the agent is, as we speak, working on securing that policy. Our balance sheet is very strong, despite the fact that we have had expenditures. We ended 2020 with reserves of more than $1.1 million, and as of the end of January of this year, after payment of our deductible that we discussed in order to get the painting started, we still have $456,000 in the roofing reserve. We have this amount, 133, in the painting reserve, and that actually will be freed up because if we're successful with the award is going to pay for the painting. And we have money in the paving reserve to continue to do work on the gutters, and we may be able to use that money in the future if we wanted to consider changing our street arrangement. We've got $35,000 in landscaping and community improvement. that will build to 45,000 by the end of this year, and Frank will talk about how that's going to be deployed. And we earn reserve interest. We don't allocate it to any of these categories, but that gives us more flexibility. So we're in good shape, and I'm happy to report that.
Before we go further, Graham, can you give us the count on the 3 issues?
Yes, first of all, we need a motion in a second to withdraw the excess funds from 2021, 2022, so for this financial year. Will that be so, for the record, there is a motion in a second.
Correct.
And then we take the vote from the floor, and all the haven't voted, like we did on this.
I'll make the motion then to do the rollover into 2022.
And I'll second that.
Thank you. All those in favour who haven't voted, signify by saying aye with their hand. Any against? Okay, the proxies are 35 for, 10 votes.
Thank you. Okay, second issue then, we'll make a motion on should the association vote to waive the legal requirement to have the CPA compiled or reviewed financial statements for the fiscal year ending December 31.
I would second. And just to add a little content to that, or context to that, Lou Bushley and I are in the process of interviewing a couple of accounting firms. We have a meeting with the More Property Management accountant on Friday to get her ideas. So we're going to do that financial statement review for the 2020 fiscal year. So that's why we're not going to do it for 2021. And the last time this was done was in 2014. So it's time to do it.
All those in favour, signify by saying
Aye.
opposed. So that motion is carried 34 to
Okay. And the last item here, should the association waive the full funding of reserves effective January 1, 2021? A motion, make the motion that we accept.
Okay, and I'll second it.
Aye. Thank you. Okay. So all 3 motions have been passed, approved, on the record. Okay, our next committee member here is Frank Rivera, and Frank, it's all yours.
Yeah, just a few things to say. So this is the folks that have graciously signed up to be on the committee. We haven't heard anything as of yet, but thank you for that. And we'll get things started shortly if you want to switch to the next slide. So Stantec apparently is a civil engineering company. One of the problems we've had is we've been trying to find a master blueprint of the landscaping that was originally done. We've had actually frankly a heck of a time finding that. So we continue to diligently try to find someone that has that blueprint. So I've actually called Stantec civil engineering to try to solicit that blueprint. If that doesn't happen, ultimately we're going to have to have a new plan created, which will come out of our funding for the landscaping. So that's where we stand there. Dean has provided contact at Island Cove as a reference. They've actually redone all of their landscaping. So we could get some lessons there. Perhaps they've gone out for competitive quotes. So we'll learn from that and perhaps emulate oh, okay, sorry. Obviously, we haven't started the landscaping up to now because there's things that need to get done first. The windows, the painting, the gutters. We thought it was prudent not to start that landscaping because it would just get trampled with all of the workmen installing and painting the unit. So that's, we're essentially on hold. That doesn't mean that we can start certainly putting the plans together so that when those projects are done, we can immediately commence with the landscaping. And Dave's already gone through this, but we had currently 35,200 available for landscaping. That will grow to 45,000 by the end of the year, and then we'll continue to do the landscaping between 2021 and 2022.
Questions? Okay, fine. Thank you, Frank.
This is just a reminder that Missy is always on duty regarding making sure the website is running smoothly. We try to have a commercial message as much as we can to encourage owners to go on the site. Those are the main categories. If you click on home, residence, and the others, there are drop downs that contain a lot of information that we think might be useful for you to look at. And Missy is always available via email to answer any questions. There'll be this annual meeting is being videoed, and on Wednesday afternoon we'll send out to everyone a link that they can use to look at the video, and the presentation is already on the website under board info. Drop down to meeting minutes, click on annual meetings, and you'll see the presentation if you want to consult it any further.
Thanks, David. Okay, remaining agenda items. Old business. Basically, we've discussed the old business, which is, as you all know, is getting everything back into shape with regard to the damage that was done by Irma. Under new business, we've broken it down to several areas. Okay, one of them is we're going to take a look at replacement of some of the balcony French doors because was it
Four
only
pairs.
four
Yeah.
of them were found damaged and are included in the award. So what we're going to attempt to do is go out, get a vendor, take a look at what it would take to replace those doors. Okay, and then hopefully having the fact that maybe we would want enough demand for those doors, you know, higher numbers, say 20, 25, 30, which would reduce the cost per owner as opposed to a single owner going out and paying top dollar to have those doors replaced. The second part of that is that if the doors are in good shape that are currently there and they still want additional protection, we're going to go out and get a price for the roll down screen that can go over those doors. Several of us have that, myself included. I think Kathy, you have it done, and I think there's about 7 or 8 more in the community that have it. So that's an alternate scenario to resolve that issue. We're going to research options to install hurricane shutters in front of the entry of both the second floor and the first floor because they're not included in the award and they're not obviously hurricane proof. If you take a look at replacing them, okay, we'll have to analyze what the price is for doing the lower level, just doing those doors because they don't have a transom above it. The upstairs unit have a large transom, and I will tell you this because obviously I did this years ago. To replace the glass above those doors in insulated hurricane-proof glass is very, very expensive. It's a large piece of glass, very heavy. So we're also going to go out and try and secure prices for a roll down, because that's what I did. It's cheaper for me to do the roll down, okay, over the whole entire entry of the second floor than to go out and try and put in hurricane doors and transom glass. So we'll hopefully have that kind of information available.
These items would be at owner expense,
Yeah.
but the association will try to secure the best price that can be made available.
And I think that's going to be into a 60 to 90 day time frame because we got a lot of other things going, as you can imagine. We're going to try to, I was looking through documents here, and obviously I've been here from almost day one. We don't have a long-range facilities plan of any type for the association. So what we're going to try and do in the next 90 to 100 days is develop a long-range plan to see what else we have to do within the community to bring it up to new standards, new grade, and to make it, quote, more desirable, more marketable, and more safe. So we're going to develop a long-range plan, and we're going to ask for a lot of help from the owners as to what they think should be incorporated into that plan. Once that plan is established from an item base, then what we'll do is we'll go out and secure prices to get it done. So if we want to plant 10 trees, we've got to find out what that's going to cost. Because then we can take a look at how we're going to fund everything that's going to take to bring it up to what we think should be a new standard.
We have our reserves, but that only covers certain items. So we need to determine how much more will be needed to implement this kind of plan.
So we'll develop that plan, but we're going to need some help from the owners. Okay, it's going to be a joint effort. And that's all I've got there. The announcement of directors is a very simple one. All of the current directors remain. We have one empty vacancy, and we'll be filling that momentarily or shortly. Put it that way. So the directors are going to still be David, Wallace, myself, and Frank here. So we're all going to stay for the punishment.
As well as Al Salata.
Okay, so it's your chance for questions. We'll give the answers if we have them.
It'd be better if you could come and use the mic.
Yeah, Mike,
so
if
that
you could step up here would help, because everybody's got a mask on and that mic works really well.
Hi, I'm Mike Fader, 2320 Montclair Drive. I'd like to thank the board for all their hard work first. I'm sure that you guys did a great job, and I appreciate it. I'm sure the others did as well. So thank you. My question is, as the community is over 20 years old, and there have been accruals for roof replacement for that period of time, I don't know if that's the balance that you showed, David, at $420 some odd thousand, I think was the number. So the question is, after the award, assuming, which we don't have the number yet, but assuming the number comes through, where does that leave the accrual in terms of going forward? Because we're starting with roofs from day one. So the question is, what's going to happen to that money, and where is it going?
Well,
we have pooled reserves.
we have pool reserves still in place for the roof. You want to go back there?
Yeah,
We have $456,000, okay, which will continue to build up over the next 10, 12 years. So that what we have to remember is that while we only are putting out $413,000 for the roofing operation, because that's the deductible requirement under the policy, that's because they were damaged in a hurricane. In 20 years from now, if we don't have a hurricane between now and 20 years, and the roof have to be replaced again, the whole $2 million plus, and probably might be close to $3 million in 20 years, that would be totally our responsibility. So we have to build that reserve up accordingly.
These new roofs will have a 30-year life, we expect, rather than
Yeah.
20, but this gives us a head start.
Does that answer your question?
Well, I think it does, but I assume you have a deductible on the roof replacement, and you have legal responsibilities.
That's the 413.
That's the $413,000.
Okay,
Yeah, that covered everything.
that's coming out of the 456 or the 456?
Prior to
It's
it,
prior
it was
to.
870,000 before. So
Okay.
taking the 413 out, it's now 456.
So you're gonna have a balance of $456,000 after the roofs are replaced and after the payments have been made.
Correct.
Correct.
And where does that stand in terms of a 30-year replacement value? How many years does that equal?
Actually, I haven't figured it out, but it's going to be less onerous than what we planned to handle for the existing roof. The roof reserve was built for us to replace our roofs in 3 phases on 25, 26, and 27. Irma changed all that assumption. So now we've got this pot, and when we put the budget together for 2022, will reflect how much on top of that do we need to provide for the next 30 years. So we'll have the funds ready for $3 million if that's what the roof replacement cost might be at that time.
The assumption is at the current rate of payment on a quarterly basis.
If you want to take a look
Yeah.
at what we got up there, we got $456,000. Okay, say we need $3 million in 30 years, simple math. Need $100,000 a year, and we're 4.5 years ahead.
And the plan is to leave it in that manner.
Okay,
When we put the budget
Yeah.
together, you'll get a
Yeah.
fixed number.
we'll continue to protect it, because we have to do that by statute.
Right.
Okay, that's not something we can do arbitrarily. Okay, yes, ma'am. Sure, step up.
Hi, I'm Sarah LaBarbera, 2407. Just, it seems like with the 456,200, we sort of have to keep that amount because heaven forbid Irma comes through this year and we have another 413,000 deductible to pay.
That's
We
correct.
have to have that sitting, some come down to that size or larger, sitting in the roofing reserve.
That's very
cover
true.
us before we might potentially need a 30.
That's very true.
That's a good point. Thank you.
Anybody else? All the way in the back.
I can speak from here. Will residents do the contract guarantee be eligible for upgrade?
Yes. The question was, if you had no damage at all at your unit, would you be eligible to have windows replaced? Yes, it would be at your cost, but I'm sure that the contractor would be more than glad to do another unit. Okay. Kathy?
Have you considered using live stores that are all over 20 years old, so that they could be brought up to code?
The current doors are code. The current doors are code. Straight bar across them, those doors will even be today's code. But they will be repainted though in the painting project.
And the rest will be sanded and so forth. It's
Yeah.
part of what the contractor's going to do.
Anybody else, please?
Okay, there's one other Q&A that came in. How can we find out if our doors or windows will be covered? Within the next 2 weeks, every owner will have a tally of what windows were included in the award. And then they'll have a worksheet to say what are the additional windows that they would like to pay for on their own. You'll have a diagram that shows your unit, and each opening is numbered. So if you look at what's going to be sent to you, it's got a number next to it. You can see, oh, that's the window in the front left of the kitchen. Okay, they're going to replace that. And if you want to replace the other window in the kitchen, then there's a number that you can put in if that's something you want to pay for on your own. So it's pretty detailed, and we're gonna deploy those who signed up on the window sliders and doors committee to help people get their questions answered. We've got 76 owners, and there may be 76 series of questions. So we're gonna try to get some help from that committee to help owners fill out that sheet. But what will be sent out in the next 2 weeks won't have any prices in it. They cannot be divulged because the insurance company could subpoena what we sent out. And then, as Jerry said, if we say $50 for a window and the assumption was 100 in the award, then we would sacrifice $50, the award would be reduced. So you'll first get the worksheet that just allows you to think what you might like to cover without knowing the prices, and then we'll send the prices out as soon as we can.
What we have some volunteers that we asked for, I guess, several months ago. What we'll probably have is a training class for them, and then break down the community, okay, to get the input from the rest of the owners, because the three of us can't handle 76. Rate of pay is too expensive. Yes, please. Doris?
What would be compensation for people who replace the window or the back?
I'm sorry, sweetie.
That
Hardly hear you.
that was included in the award. It was included as what had been done since Irma that you did on your own, and there's been a place for that.
Anyone else, please? Yes.
Glenn Brady, 2345 Montclair, 201. I have two questions. Regarding the windows and doors, when you're looking at the replacement options, I'm just wondering if people choose to just have theirs replaced, 2 or 3 of them, and there's 5 that aren't, or some units have none replaced. From the outside, looking at the building, will it look odd to have, you know, these different types of windows? Or will the aesthetics be
They'll be,
close enough that we wouldn't notice?
they'll still have the grid situation available, and that'll be, from the outside, it'll look 99% all the same.
Okay. So they'll stay consistent looking from the outside.
And the tint should be the same too.
Okay, got it. And then as far as like the landscaping, you know, that's not a lot of money to spend on landscaping. Because I think about our landscaping, if we walk around, you know, Pelican Marsh, you know, some are maybe a 10, some are maybe a 6, we're probably a 7 or an 8. And I know we've been deferring a lot of the landscaping work for good reason. I'm just curious, conceptually, what are you thinking about relative to the landscaping? Because I think there's probably a fair amount of work that needs to be done, and not a lot of money in that $35,000.
Can't answer that because we haven't hired anybody to figure it out for us. Okay, but
Conceptually, are we talking about taking out trees and doing all of it, or are we talking about bringing it back up to standard?
well, there basically is, when you say standard, excuse me, there's no standard. What we have to be careful of is that a lot of the plantings that are in place now are good, strong, acceptable plantings. There's other plantings that are troublesome to maintain, they're half dead, whatever, and I'm sure those will be replaced with new type of material to prevent that same, you know, reoccurrence. So we're going to rely on a professional to go through. That's why we want to get, and we've had a heck of a time trying to get the original drawing. And if we get that, that'll cut it down for us in probably, I would say 30, 60 days, easy having that, as opposed to having somebody come in and go through the whole community as it is now, do an as-built, and then make a recommendation as to how to modify it. So we're right now hoping that that existing plan is going to be in our hands in short order. Yes, Missy?
Yeah, I'm really unhappy about the idea of the master plan, because, really easy to pick individual social spots. And you have to be working on the master plan, so that individual things don't affect the whole. And I do know that one of the things that we big issue is placement of grass.
Of what?
Grass.
Grass. Our basically is dead, and
Oh.
we're probably not the only one that's now sand instead of grass.
Yeah,
And,
that's kind of what I mean when I say up to standard.
right. And then also, I assume in the discussion about community, the look of the community is our entry and our signs. There's a trip out of it now, and you see it's made out of styrofoam instead of cement. I assume that will all be included in the discussion of future meetings.
That's what we intend to do. That's why we're going to need input from the residents. As you guys walk through, okay, and you see something, you say, gee, we should do something better than this. It's the other question that we have is we have a lot of the deciduous trees that are planted close to the street, and they've created root growth, okay, that's raised some of the gutters. All right, we're going to have to go through a process which is available of going through and cutting all that roof structure off behind all of the curb, okay, so that it won't protrude into the street again or the curb again. So say we go out and we pave the streets either in asphalt or in brick or whatever, we want to have the ability not to have to go back and do repairs because the roots are growing out. If you cut those roots off, what I'm told is that you're good for another 10 to 12 years before they become a problem. If you take a look at where we are, one of the problems with the grass is a perfect example. The grass was planted with the type of grass, et cetera, but the trees were a lot smaller. It wasn't the umbrella that the tree provides now. It knocks out the sun. So those are all of the things that, you know, hopefully a good landscape designer will help us with.
The signage that Troon has put in, and then Ventura very recently is or the monument, as the term is, are very attractive, and we'll try to do something to keep up with them.
Any more questions? Okay, well, I'll take a move to adjourn, guys.
I so moved.
All right, thank you for coming. Easy.
Good. 4:46, 45 minutes. Good.